Hello guys, how are you? Hello good people and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today is World Mental Health Day, that is 10th of October. It's celebrated annually. So as I mentioned earlier in my video, we're going to be talking about World Mental Health Day, and I'm going to be doing a very special video for you guys. So karibuni sana, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you've watched my previous video and you enjoyed them, and keep on subscribing and sharing with your friends. So I'm sure you're wondering, why do we talk about mental health, or why is it that so passionate about this topic about mental health awareness? So okay, the reason why I have this passion, or rather I would love to for people to bring these conversations or rather get to talk about these issues of mental health, is because I've had a personal encounter, or rather I've seen people who are very close to me go through mental health illness, and to be sincere, it's something that it's not the best thing to do, or rather to see your close people go through. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a special part where I'm going to talk a personal story, or rather my encounter with mental health. So make sure that you stay tuned to get to know more about it. So why do we celebrate Mental Health Day, or rather why is it important to us? I'm going to just explain to you why it is important for us to commemorate this day, and why it's even commemorated worldwide. So the reason why this day is celebrated is to be able to raise awareness about mental health, and also know about the significance and what are some of the things, or that are the key messages that we need to bring out during this Mental Health Awareness Day. So the theme for this year is mental health in an unequal world, and I'm gonna explain more about it, or rather get to deeper levels to understand why is it that you're talking about mental health in an equal world. So as you all know, mental health has been something that is something that has been very people are focused on it especially during these pandemic days, whereby things change. Like as I talked about earlier in my video, there was a shift in the way people handle things, and these things affected so many people, including frontline health workers, students, and people living alone. And those even with pre-existing mental health problems were not able to even maybe to access even their medical care. So it has affected so many people all around. So that's why we need to talk about it more and more, and get to know how can we help these people, or rather how can we be able to bridge that gap. I think it's good we highlight the key messages. What are the main messages that you want to bring out there during this World Mental Health Awareness Day. And some of the key messages include, actually there are just 5 of them. One of them include, close to 1 billion people have a mental health disorder, and anyone, anywhere can be affected. So mental health is not like something for certain race or certain kind of people. It can affect anyone, anywhere. Then depression is a leading cause of disability worldwide, and is a major contributor to the overall burden of the disease. So globally, it is estimated that 5% of adults suffer from depression. So depression is like one of the major mental health disorders, and is a contributor to the global burden of the disease, that is the mental health illness. Then globally, this is quite actually very worrying. When I was researching about the topic, this was one of the main key messages that was quite worrying to me. And it says that globally, 1 in 7 10 to 19-year-olds experience a mental health disorder. 10 to 19-year-old, 1 in 7 of them experience mental health disorder. And half of all such disorders start by age 14, but most of them are undetected and untreated. So what is coming out there is that mental health disorders start way from a young age, and then they sort of, when they are left untreated and undetected, they sprout out much later, because these are things that may be traumas that maybe from your childhood past that you never dealt with, and then they are sprouting out again when you are an adult. Then 1 in every 100 deaths is by suicide. It is the 4th leading cause of death for young people aged 15 to 29 years. I talked about suicide prevention in one of my previous videos, and maybe you can go and watch it on my channel. And it's quite worrying. The statistics are quite, shocking, and we need to do something about it. We need to, bring these conversations in hand and make sure that these people get the help that they need. Then the other key message is that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a considerable impact on people's mental health. I highlighted earlier, when I was starting the video, that COVID-19 is one of the, major contributors to some of the mental health disorders that we are seeing right now. But not to say that we can't do anything. There is a lot that can be done. And I'm going to talk about, some of the things that you can actually do to help these people who are going through mental health illnesses. Back to our topic about, types or other forms of domestic violence. So as I promised earlier, we're going to be doing a series of this emotional or rather domestic violence. So today we are going to talk about emotional abuse as a form of domestic violence. So what is emotional abuse? So emotional abuse is a form of abuse whereby the person uses emotions as a way of control to criticize, embarrass, shame, blame, or otherwise manipulate the other person. So that's what emotional abuse is. And what are some of the signs, or rather some of the behaviors that you can actually see if someone is actually being emotionally abusive? So some of them include having unrealistic expectations out of someone, invalidating you. Another behavior is that creating chaos, using emotional blackmail, and act as superior, control and isolate you, and being controlling emotionally. So what are some of the types of emotional abuse? Some of the types of emotional abuse include accusations of cheating or other signs of jealousy and possessiveness, constant checking or other attempts to control the other person's behavior, constantly arguing or opposing, criticism, gaslighting, isolating the individual from their family, their friends, and their friends, name-calling and verbal abuse, refusing to participate in the relationship, shaming or blaming, silent treatment, trivializing the other person's concern, and withholding affection and attention. So those are some of the types of emotional abuse. Just to dive deep into what are some of the unrealistic expectations someone can have on you. Some of them include making unreasonable demands of you, expecting you to put everything else aside and meet their needs. It's like, you don't have any needs or wants. When they need you, you have to be there. Then demanding you to spend all your time together. Being dissatisfied no matter how hard you try and how much you give. Criticizing you for not completing tasks according to their standards. Expecting you to share their opinions, that is, you're not permitted to have a different opinion. Then demanding you to name exact dates and times when discussing things that upset you, and when you cannot do this, they may dismiss the event if it's never happened. Other ways of being emotionally abusive include invalidating you, and these include undermining, dismissing, or distorting your perception or your reality, refusing to accept your feelings by trying to define how you should feel, requiring you to explain how you feel over and over, accusing you of being too sensitive, too emotional, or crazy, then refusing to acknowledge and accept your opinions or ideas as valid, then dismissing your requests, wants, and needs as ridiculous or unmerited, or suggesting that your perceptions are wrong and you cannot be trusted by saying things like you're blowing things out of proportion or you are exaggerating. So those are some of the things, you can actually realize that you're actually in an emotionally abusive relationship. and find ways to be able to get out of it. So I'd promised to rather share a personal story of my sort of my encounter with mental health illness. And mental health awareness, or rather mental health problems, is something that has been there, though the first actually ever World Mental Health Day celebrations was back in 1992. Thus was the first ever World Mental Health celebrations. Then of course afterwards, the years, we have had more and more people bringing these topics into conversations, and we have had quite some improvement in terms of the way mental health is being viewed. So before I tell you the story, I think it's good that we talk about what are some of the good news, or rather what is some of the things that you can actually see that the government is doing to be able to help these people who are going through mental health illness. So some of them include most of the mental health conditions like depression and anxiety can actually be treated with talking therapies, medication, or combination of this. Then we also have generalist healthcare workers can be trained to diagnose and treat mental health conditions. And I'm sure these are things that have actually been ongoing. Like, more healthcare workers are being trained on how to actually pinpoint mental health illness when it has just started. Then the quality of people living with conditions such as autism and dementia can be greatly improved when there is caregivers receiving appropriate training. Of course, apart from the healthcare workers, we also need to train the caregivers on how to be able to help these people who are going through mental health illness. Then also the rights of people living with mental health condition can be protected and promoted through mental health legislation, policy, development of affordable, quality, and community-based mental health services, and also involvement of people with lived experience. So those are some of the things, and I'm sure you've actually heard about the mental health policy that was developed the other day. There's something that actually the government is doing to be able to bring these conversations into hand. And actually we had on 2nd of October, we had a celebration of World Mental Health Day. I think it was in Kasarani, whereby people were cycling, and creating messages, or rather calling people, or rather organization, to be able to help people who have mental health illnesses. So back to my story. So my encounter with mental health illness was quite young. Actually, to be sincere, I didn't know that it was it was something that it may be treatable. I thought about it as something that is maybe out of this world. So this was encounter was with someone who is very close to me, that is my mom. And this happened when we lost our dad. We had my mom was quite really affected, and she went into depression, and later she was diagnosed with bipolar. So to be sincere, as a young child, it was quite hard for me to see what she was going through, like not being able to take care of us. And later we had now to move to my grandma's. I stayed with my grandma actually for some time during my early ages, and also my uncle and auntie. So I remember some of the days that she would come home, and of course she's not herself. She would of course talk, sometimes bring some little chaos here and there, and people weren't understanding that actually she was going through depression, or that she had a mental health problem. My family members tried to help her where they could, and it was getting worse and worse, and adding with other factors that were around her. It was quite hard for her to be able to manage it. And I think much later, that's when I now come to understand what she was going through. And to be sincere, it's not one of the, I think I'm still going through the emotion and trying to understand, what would have been done differently, what would we, you know, as a family would have done much better to be able to help her, or rather to be able to sort of bring her back to life and help her to lead a normal life. And back then, because I was in, you know, when all these were happening, I think I was in my primary school, which was like in the 2000s there. So still mental health wasn't one of those things that you talk about every other day. Actually, mental health problems were seen as, you know, like it's like you're cursed, it's like you're bewitched, you know, things like that. And it was really hard for us to be able to, you know, get people to understand that, you know, she's actually, you know, going through mental health problem, of course, because of losing such a close person to her, that is my dad, the husband, that is. So that's why I feel, you know, mental health issues are things that we need to talk more about it, and, you know, to be able to help these people, because these people are your aunties, they may be your cousins, they may be your nieces, your nephews, you know, they are people that we live with every other day, and it's a journey that we need, you know, to be there for them and walk through them and, you know, show them that they can overcome this. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you've learned a thing or two, and I hope that, you know, as you celebrate this World Mental Health Day, that you're going to maybe identify someone who is going through this journey, talk to them, you know, give them a word of encouragement, or a word of, you know, telling them, or rather they can go through this and they can actually overcome it, because you're here, we are there for them, and you're ready to be able to help them to overcome this journey. Thank you so much, and have a lovely afternoon, evening, or morning, whichever it is that, you know, whatever place that you're watching me from. Have a lovely day and enjoy it. Thank you so much. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, share, like, comment, and you know, enjoy as you watch the videos. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Mwah.